Well, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz says he wants to deepen economic and political ties with India. He made these remarks at a press conference with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Delhi. Scholz's two-day trip to India highlights a growing effort by Western powers to isolate Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. Let's go to Delhi now and speak with Professor Harsh Pant. He is the Vice President of the Observer Research Foundation. Welcome to DW. Now, India hasn't condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and it seems Germany is trying to woo India as an ally against Russia. What do you make of this?
Well, India has been historically a very close partner of Russia. And since the Ukraine crisis, India has tried to maintain its relationship with Russia, even as India's ties with the West have increased substantially in the last few decades. So I think that balancing act is what we are witnessing from India's side. But clearly for India, the consequences of the Ukraine war have been very palpable, and India is concerned about the economic deceleration that is coming as a result of this conflict. So I think from both sides, from Germany, the attempt is to woo India at a time of great power contestation, and India being a very preeminent economic power. From India's side, it's an attempt to balance its ties with Russia and the West.
I want to speak to you a bit more about this balancing act, as you say. India's position on Ukraine has been a disappointment to Western countries, but India is quite dependent on Russia for things like oil and military supplies. Help us understand a bit more the line that India is treading here.
I think India's historical dependence on Russia for defense is quite extraordinary because during the Cold War, the West was not willing to supply India with critical defense technologies. And so India's reliance on then Soviet Union increased. And as a result of which, even today, India finds almost 55% of its defense supplies coming from Russia. So with that kind of a dependence at a time when India is facing a very live border with China is a major predicament for Indian policymakers, and therefore they are very reluctant to publicly condemn Russia. But Indian Prime Minister has last year publicly said to Vladimir Putin that this is not the time for war, and this statement has been reflected in various countries in various ways. And in some ways, India is trying to distance itself from the larger aggression that Russia has wreaked on Ukraine. But it is a very, very difficult act to follow. On oil and gas, it has been a different relationship, because energy ties have really boomed in the last 1 year, where Indian political economy has demanded that given the discounts that Russia has been offering to India found it very lucrative, and therefore India has gone ahead and bought some oil from Russia. But it's largely the dependency is more related to defense.
I want to speak to you a bit more about China and India's reluctance to distance itself from Russia. I'm just wondering if this could become a problem in the long run, if, say, a weakened Russia is driven closer towards China, which is, of course, a big competitor to India.
Absolutely. I think this is one of the biggest challenges that many Indian policymakers are very much aware of, because a weakened Russia will be a satellite country to China, and China-Russia axis in recent years has become stronger, in particular as the West has isolated Russia post-Ukraine crisis. We have seen China and Russia coming together substantively, and that means for India, which faces China as the most important strategic challenge going forward, this relationship becomes a very, very difficult nut to crack. And therefore, India is trying to maintain some channels of communication with Russia. It is trying to keep those channels open because it would not want Russia and China to coalesce together, which becomes a very formidable challenge for India going forward, given the defense dependence on Russia and given the strategic challenge that India faces from China.
That was Professor Harsh V. Pant in Delhi. Professor, thank you so much today for your time and your insights. Appreciate it.
Thank you.